everybody in. Yeah, this is the Janine Back Community Center. And, you know, I just find it amazing, you know, especially when we're in a community where children deserve all that we can give them. We know that nurturing children as they grow, that they begin to really develop into the kind of citizens that we want to see. Community centers have been the seed of expanding children's horizons and giving them an opportunity for not only recreation, but also for educational opportunities. And community centers in a lot of the communities that I know about have also offered opportunity to adults in the community to actually enrich their lives too, especially educational and everything. But what I've seen on the south end of North Charleston, on the south side, in communities such as the Waylyn and Dorchester Terrace and others, are these little community centers that might have been sufficient for a bygone era, which I don't really believe. If you go inside, it's like a one-room classroom from back in Jim Crow days. You know, all you have is a big room with 2 bathrooms and a kitchen. This community deserves better than that. There should be rooms, and it should be large enough to have classrooms in it, places where they can offer arts and crafts and things like that, instead of everybody in one little spot. But this has been accepted in our community for a long time. The city, this is what they did for our communities, for our poor communities and the communities for people of color. Small centers like that. Gussie Green over across the road. Gethsemane up the way, you know. It's just ridiculous what they've done. This mural, there was a young man that came and he actually did this mural a couple of years ago. I don't even think that it was commissioned or paid for by the city. It may have been, don't get me wrong, it may have been, but at least to dress it up a little bit, you know. And as we go around, we can actually see that there's a park back here. Check this out though. What is amazing about this park was when I first started working down here, and I started working with the neighborhood association president, Mr. Joby Thompson, rest his soul. He passed away. He passed away actually after passing on the mantle of the neighborhood association president to a young man that I've talked about by the name of Jesse Williams. I introduced him to Jesse and the work that he was doing in the community, and Joby said, this is a good man for me to pass this on to. But somehow that got lost along the way, thanks to, I think, the councilwoman, who did not want that him to be in charge of the center, or the neighborhood association. But it's an amazing story about this park. We had an event that we planned at Janine Back, and I was planning on a rally, actually, here, and I'm looking around because there's a large empty space over here of land that we could have had it at. You know, especially working with the car clubs, we needed places for them to put the cars or whatever. And I just happened to look back there, and I noticed the playground setup back there. And I'm like, what the heck is that? The problem being, though, when I saw it, there's two gates. There's a gate there. It was closed and chained. And it had been closed and chained. It wasn't open and available to the public at that time for the children to play. Let's walk back and take a look at it. It wasn't open and available, had a chain on it with a lock on it, with a padlock on it, so that nobody could get in. The brand new park, nice park. You know? It looks like the gates are closed right now, looks like, once again. It's been a while since I've been working down here personally. And they said it was to keep out drug activity. And that's well and good. Keep the drug activity out, but don't close the park off for the children. You build a park for the children. As we walk back here and we stop to think about the little park that we just looked at and whatever, this park was supposedly built for this community and was never used for the community. We had a couple of rallies back here. As a matter of fact, the Waylyn's Children's March on Crime ended up back here. We ended back here. And we had a rally with stage and music and everything for that day. speakers. Wow. They just invested that money here and looks like they're just tearing it down now. Wow. This was only a few years ago. This was only a few years ago. I see why it's chained up now. But just to put it in context, okay? The chain, I mean, that fence line over there and the green containers, I guess they're working on Burns Elementary. None of that was there. There was a baseball field there with bleachers and everything over there. You had your jungle gym set up right here, your swings right there, and it was a real nice park. But nobody knew about it or had access to it. So the money that was spent here, just, I don't know. Wow. I'm glad we came back here. I'm glad we came back here. But after I located it, after I saw it and saw what was here and what it was chained up, within a couple of days the chains were removed, the gates were open, and any children that wanted to play back there had access to it. But it was not encouraged. We even talked about them building an access from over on Ranger Drive to get through to here for the children over here. That never came to pass. You got to want to help people in order to help people. If you don't want to help people, you find every excuse in the world not to help people. And you see what happened. It's a waste. This is a waste. This is a good park. A good place. And it's my understanding that this whole ground that we sit on right now was at one point a recreational center for the Waylyn in Dorchester Terrace, with ball courts and everything right here. That was back when the Barfields lived here back in the day. I forget what they called it, something like candy cane or something like that. I forget what they called it. I'm a come-year. I'm not a been-year, you know. I arrived here some years ago, 1986, okay. Maybe I'll qualify one day. It was told to me that they had a very nice recreational complex right here at one point. But we see what's happened. And why? Why? What's different in this community than Westcott or Kings Grant or any of those that's up the road? What's different in this community than Park Circle? Look at the field house at Park Circle compared to this one right here. We'll go inside in a minute as we go back, and if we can get in, if the doors are open, if somebody's in there, and just look inside. You know, if we can get inside, there's a banner there. There's a Waylyn banner there that the Coalition People United to Take Back Our Community purchased and put in here to try to enrich this community and begin for this community to understand we're better than what they've given us. It's right there, and I think it's still there. You know, I mean, this was 5 years ago. Or longer when we put it in there. So this is it. Right next to this place right here. This is what the children that did find out about this place had to play next to. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand how a city neglects its people. Some people. And then I don't understand how those same neglected people will continue to put the people in office who they neglect. I do not understand that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for office. That's one of the reasons why I'm running for the office of mayor. Because there'll be a time coming real soon where people in these communities, people that have been neglected for all of these years, will get up one day and say, man, we didn't know we could have it this good. That day is coming. Stand by. And we had to literally fight to get this, and we're promised a lot more for the children here. All of these homes around here, there are a lot of children right over here. There's ample space for it. They could have done a lot more than what they did. And this happened after the park was built off Sproul Avenue for Metanoia. They got a nice park over there, about 3 times the size of this. You know, invested in it. And then, they had when they built that one, they had the grand opening where a representative from the mayor's office came out. They had the police chief and everybody came out, and It was a big fanfare with the media and everything, so we were like, okay, well, when y'all finish over here, y'all gonna do that? And they kept promising us yes, and ultimately we had to do the park christening, you know. So you got on Facebook, I got information about it, pictures of that too when we were out here. I think that day, that might have been the day that Senator Kempson came by here. It might have been. Okay, a couple of times he's been out here. But this is the place where Jesse Williams and Take It to the Street ministry has been more or less their base of operations for ministry twice a month out here for at least the last, I think, maybe 10 years. 10 years. Out of his own pocket, you know, him and his group. They've been caring for kids and taking care of kids and teaching kids about the love of Christ here for a long time, with no recognition and no help from the city. And see, this is what the city gave for a park, you know. And the picnic tables were already here, so they put that one little bench over there. You know, they did great. They did great. Yeah. I found out. I think where the flagpole is down there. I think that's a Veterans Memorial. I think. You know, it's just amazing. You know? That's why when it comes to North Charleston, and especially every year the mayor does what he calls the state of the city, it's not the real city that he shows. There are two cities. There's the city that you'll see in the state of the city, and then there's this city that you're recording today. It's the city that's not being treated fairly and equally as the rest of them. But still in all, the people are being held to the standard of equality. It's a city where poverty is the order of the day. Poor education is the order of the day. Lack of economic opportunity is the order of the day. And it's been accepted by the community. Well, it's time to change that. It's time to turn that around. These are good people who deserve a lot better than what they've been given over the years. And the only way to change that around is not through some 11th hour, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. No, but sustained, superior investment in these communities to bring them up to standard. And not only bring the communities up to standard, that will in turn bring up the hearts and the minds of those who are in the communities. So the elevation is not only at this level, but also in that mental and that emotional and that physical level, because the community itself, not just the buildings or the grounds, will be nurtured and promoted by City Hall. I'm born and raised in the projects of Chicago, you know, in Ida B. Wells, 37th place, Ida B. Wells, 781 East 37th place, right off Cottage Grove. Project living was, in that day, I was born in 52, project living was a little different than what it became over time, how it, you know, how the drugs and everything influenced, you know, came in. But as a young kid, you know, I was enrolled in a Catholic elementary school, so there were certain moral values actually that were instilled both at home and in the community, and then reinforced at the school that I went to, that have carried me, I think, through the years, even through my years of drug abuse and crime, and I had over 30 years of that of my life. But there was something that was already instilled in me about doing good and about how things are supposed to be beneficial to people, that if we take care of one another, then things would be better. I believe that little Tommy, because I was Tommy Dixon at that time, and, you know, in kindergarten, first grade, fourth grade, I saw the world of what could be. I was a dreamer then. Used to like comic books too, because the good guys always won. So I had that type of a spirit inside of me, believed that good would win. And of course, getting older, I was growing up in the era of civil rights, the civil rights movement. So I saw the struggle that was going on around me, how as people of color, as black people, that all of the amenities in life that others had, that we didn't have those things available, that we were confined to certain areas and certain schools. And I knew that even in Chicago, that there were some areas that I could go to and other areas that I couldn't. And because of that upbringing as little Tommy, something inside of my mind said, this just ain't right. So we can change that. But I lost the way along the way. But those things were already planted within me. The scripture says that we train up a child in the way that he should go, and in the end that he will not depart. Well, I had those things, that belief that good will triumph over evil, and that if we really invest in good and doing good, that good will come out of it. I was always sown into my heart, into my soul, and my spirit. So even when I strayed away for 32 years of my life, from age about 14, 15 to around 46 years old, eventually I came back to that understanding. That 36 years was involved in the criminal element, getting high, partying. I partied for 10 years straight in Chicago. I was so well known on the party circuit in Chicago, I could go in anybody's club anytime I wanted to without admission or nothing like that. They just knew. That I went from Tommy Dixon to Tom Slick. That was my street name, was Slick. And known and recognized around the city. But that also led to us, like I said, over 32 years of self-destruction. And I was straight up self-destruction in all kind of ways. And ultimately it almost cost me my life. It almost cost me my family. It ultimately wound up me going to prison here in South Carolina. All of it because I was addicted to drugs for a long time in my life, and alcohol and nicotine. By God's grace, I'm set free from all of those now. But in the midst of that, you know, even though I did the criminal things, there was still that part inside of me that grieved the way I hurt other people. And especially when I came to my senses, I wound up in South Carolina going to prison here, and that's where my life changed at. I didn't know that Jesus was in prison, but he was there waiting on me when I went to prison, and he cleaned me up. I never went through any withdrawals after 30 some odd years of using alcohol and drugs. I never went through a withdrawal a day in my life. Somebody said, you were healed. And I fully believe that. What happened to me was a healing. And it was for the purpose of me to pursue what I'm doing right now. But the reason why I can pursue what I do right now as far as helping our community and everything is because of the seeds that were sown in my heart at a very early age. Seeds that believe that good will triumph over evil, and that we collectively should always work for the good of each other. So once I came to my senses after 30 some odd years of alcohol and drug abuse, I was 46 at the time, I started working. I started putting in work to turn things around. I was trying to clean up what I had messed up. That song, Real. Trying to clean up what I had messed up. For me, it was real. And so now I just live daily to get up and try to make the world a better place than what it is. And it's a whole lot of work, and I wish I would have started years ago, but I had to go through the different things that I've been through, the alcohol, the drugs, the prison time, seeing how lack of education affects opportunities for those who come out of the prison system, how lack of education in our community contributes to the prison system, the school and prison pipeline, how financial opportunity is not available to people, how in this crazy state that we live in, how being a right to work in an at-will state contributes to the prison population and poverty. There's so many different things that I learned along the way, and one of the primary things that I learned along the way was something that I knew all of my life as a child, was that everybody's equal. There's no difference. We just do things differently, we think differently, but everybody's equal. And as long as we respect one another in those equalities, we can work together for a better world. When I came to my senses after those 32 years, I would say right around 46, 47 years old, what really happened with me, and I'll tell anybody, was I got to know that child that I abandoned 30 some odd years before. I got to know Tommy Dixon again. Slick died, and Tommy Dixon resurrected. And I found out I liked that guy. I liked Tommy Dixon. I liked what he stood for. I liked his presentation, and I liked being him. And that's who I am now. Only I don't use Tommy anymore. And they can't call me Slick because I don't accept that anymore. I'm a new person. I'm a new person that's still that old person that was born and raised to understand that doing good is what we're supposed to do. And that's why I do what I do. I've never gotten paid for what I do. There are people that talk that mess. I've never gotten paid for it. This jacket, if you look up the articles and everything, you'll see the same jacket in those articles from 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Same jacket. I don't buy clothes. You know, if my wife and my daughter and my son don't buy me clothes, I don't have clothes. I don't go out of my way to do all that. I'm not about flash and all of that. It's all irrelevant. I live off of $800 a month Social Security. I just was able to get some disability, so I got a little bit more money now. But my wife, for some reason or other, who still loves me, I don't understand that. That's the craziest thing in the world. Why she puts up with me and still loves me, but she, you know, it's her job that keeps a roof over our heads, and but she understands three things: the man, the mission, and the message. And she got to know about it when I ran for office 2016, because before then she wasn't out in the street with me. And she started saying, she said, wow, you are impacting people's lives by what you do. I thought you just went out there and just act up, you know? And she said, no. And from that point on, she says, you do what you got to do. I got this. You do what you got to do because you're helping people. So Tommy Dixon is out here in the streets fighting for people, fighting for the good of people. And I don't care whether it's with the fight for 15 that now needs to be the fight for 17. I don't care whether it's trying to organize a union at Medical University because of the atrocities that are still being inflicted on workers there. I don't care if it's lobbying in the State House for comprehensive gun reform and universal background checks that's going to slow down the number of guns that are in our community. I don't care whether it's trying to reach out to the gangs that are here to get them to understand that we are better than taking each other's lives, and we need to understand that that's what this system wants us to do. I don't care whether it's going into the prison system to talk to those in the prison system, because those are my brothers and my sisters, because I got a number too, a South Carolina number, 262513. I've been up that road. I don't care if it's running up in the mayor's office like my brother Mujahideen did, in order to let him know some of your time is up. Whatever it takes in order for the people to be represented, and for the people to breathe, and for the people to know that their lives matter, that's what I'm going to do to make it happen. Yeah, it was a long road, you know. It was a long road. From right around age 15, 16 until age 46, you know, the 30 years of my life trapped in that world of alcohol and drugs, and of course along with that came the crime and all the rest of the stuff that goes with it. But that day came when I was set free, actually that day when God saved me from me. I was my worst enemy all those years, and then one day he saved me, and I realized that, you know, I had a much better plan and a purpose in life. And it's the experiences that I had, the going to prison and everything, the years of alcohol and drug abuse, from the highest of places to the lowest of places, and then in all trap houses all across the states. But those experiences are what gives me the ability to, first off, relate to those who are going through these issues and those who are in the prison system, because I've been there. I've been up that road. but also to understand how to help those that are exiting the system to get out and to stay out. I heard another candidate who talked about the whole process or whatever, but he talked about it from a scholastic standpoint, not from a first-hand standpoint. My conversation as far as coming out of the system and what can be done to change a life, to help change that life and give a person the opportunity coming out to stand and not return, is because of my first-hand experience. I know about the problems that are encountered by those who come out of the system on probation or parole. How you got to go see a PO, and that PO is going to tell you where you got to pay so much supervision fee each month, but you can't get a job because you got to check that box on an application saying you've been to prison, and as soon as the employer sees that, you get overlooked anyway, so you can't find a job to pay your supervision fees. I understand about how people go to prison and they're on child support, and instead of that child support stopping when they're in prison until they're released, it continues to accumulate every month that they're in jail. So when they get out, they go see a family court judge now, and that family court judge says, okay, well, I'm going to give you 60 days to start making your payments, your back payments up. But you got a felony record and you can't get a job because you got to check that box. Now you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do in order to make this happen? Well, I can't get a job, I got to pay the court system, or I'm going back to jail. Maybe my best thing to do is go back to doing what I've been doing. I can hustle and make that money and pay them bills, which is a wrong decision in itself. For me, having been through these whole things, and there's a whole other thing when we talk about those ex-felons that cannot go back to the home of their mother's children, where their children are, because with their felony record, if they're on Section 8, they can't go back into their housing, and all kinds of other things that keep, especially males, separated from their families. I know these things, and I've been working hard with groups like Turning Leaf, and I was part of Turning Leaf before Turning Leaf actually became Turning Leaf. I've been inside of the county jails talking to those that are in the county jails about getting out and staying out. In this last election cycle, we've been inside of the jails actually registering those who haven't been caught to vote and letting them know, yes, you can vote if you haven't been to court and convicted of anything. And out here in the world, registering people to vote who are ex-felons because they have the right to vote here as long as they're finished with their probation and parole and out from under any court. So my knowledge on this is firsthand on how we change this up. But one of the greatest things that will happen with me as mayor of North Charleston is for those that are sitting up that road, who are sitting on Broad River or at Kirkland or at McDougal or Lieber or whatever, to be able to see a mayor, the mayor of the third largest city, soon to be the second largest city in the state of South Carolina, with a number. Somebody that's been behind that wall, been about that life, that has been set free and has moved to the position of mayor of this major city, standing there saying, I'm going to help in whatever way I can for you to get out and stay out, and if I can get out and stay out, you can also. Because we're going to work on mechanisms to make sure that coming out of the prison system, you're not tripped up or trapped off, but you have the ability at your disposal to get out and to stand. From that same bully pulpit, I'll encourage them, while you're in, make sure that you're getting your education. Don't just sit there 3 hots in a cot and what channel we watching tonight, sitting there making setup. No, use that time to get educated so that when you come out the prison, that you do have at least a chance to move forward. You're actually working in your own behalf. And the other part of that entire equation is the economic part of that equation. How do those coming out of the system find employment that'll work? Well, there are plenty of programs that are incentivized to help businesses to hire ex-offenders, many of which don't know that these incentives are available, where the government will pay certain incentives to hire ex-offenders. But then again, there's another portion of it. I believe the rehabilitation from the prison system starts when a person goes into the prison system. I believe that's the first step. Now, if we can get these companies that we give all these big tax breaks for coming to our area, if we can get them to agree to designate 2% of their hiring to those who are incarcerated. And we go into the prison system and identify those who have certain skill sets and are trainable, and to offer them, okay, while you're inside of prison, we're going to give you regular training. You got to stay straight. You can't get into trouble while you're here. Well, we're going to give you training in order to become a worker at Boeing when you leave here, so that you complete this training here. The day that you leave the prison system, you walk out of jail into a full-time job with benefits at Boeing, because we've trained you already and vetted you. If we can get Boeing, Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, all these major corporations that have gotten these tax breaks to come here to invest in the community that way, by investing in those that are coming out of the system, because they're going to come out. And they're either going to come out with opportunity, or they're going to go back to the life that they've lived before. And that same life might jeopardize the lives of somebody's family members who runs Mercedes or Boeing. So it's better to invest in them. So we're going to look into how we can work with these companies, or encourage them to invest in the lives of those that are incarcerated, in order to break down this recidivism rate and give those that are incarcerated an opportunity to have hope. Right along with them being able to see one of their homeboys in the mayor's office who will fight for them just as hard as he fights for anything else. I think that that's a win-win situation for our communities, and for our communities to begin to grow and to be revitalized and to thrive according to the American dream. Just because a person made a mistake in life, just like me, I made many mistakes in my life, does not mean that the system has to end their life there, or retire them to a life of mediocrity, or struggle, or lack of opportunity. This is America, the greatest country, the greatest nation in the world. We don't take care of those who don't have an opportunity, whose hope has been taken from them. We're setting ourselves up as a nation for failure. It's not going to happen anymore in North Charleston. Change is coming.